Today, I'm very excited because I'm sitting with Ripley today, and Ripley works with open-minded, curious people as a clairvoyant reader. So firstly, thanks very much for taking the time today. I'm very glad to have you here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And I was really excited to have you on board because literally just as we were speaking before this, you have quite a fun journey of kind of where you were working, like career-wise, and then kind of where you are now. So for obviously the people who don't know you, I'd love if you kind of just gave a minute or two kind of introduction in like who you are, what you're focusing on when it comes to the clairvoyant readings, and yeah, just more about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of these people that has thrived under the pandemic. I was lucky enough to be made redundant from my corporate job last year, which I'd been in for 20 years. I was a training consultant, loved it, absolutely. But when I was made redundant, I was lucky enough to, because I've been there for a while, I had a lump sum. So I was able to take a little bit of time to think, what do I actually want to do with my life? And there's a train going past, so it looks like there's loads of flashing. There's a train going past.
It's a disco party.
Yeah. So, I thought, what am I going to do? I've come from the corporate world, and I'd sort of thought that I was probably going to go back into the corporate world as a coach and work for myself. But a big part of my life that's always been there has been the spiritual side. I've been a clairvoyant all of my life, and that was sort of in the background. I hadn't really considered that could be a career. I sat around for a few months and watched Netflix and thought about what I was going to do. And somehow I didn't panic about it. I'd have thought I would have done. I'm out of work, but I didn't panic. And a friend of mine asked if I could do a tarot reading for somebody, which is something I've done for years. And I thought, well, I haven't done it for a few years, but I'll give it a go. Did it, loved it, went really well. The lady paid me the money and I left it on the side for about a week, and I kept looking at it thinking, is this some sort of clue? Sometimes I'm a bit slow on the uptake, So I thought, well, I know, just to get me back into actually working, let's say, I was going to start a little side hustle, and maybe I was going to start doing some readings over Zoom. And as soon as I started that, it was immediate. It took off. Built a website, social media presence, and it took off immediately and grew arms and legs almost within days. So it went from me thinking this was going to be my side hustle to being my absolute dream job, because what I'm able to do is have really transformative conversations with people that are a mixture of, it's actually oracle cards I read rather than tarot, but people are usually, more aware of tarot cards. So I have oracle readings with people that are really transformative, that help people. It very much clarifies where people are going. I read for a lot of people that are going through a spiritual awakening, or they're having some issue in their life that they're trying to move on from. So instead of me just saying, you're going to meet a tall, dark stranger, or be careful of this, or this is going to happen, I take the information that comes through the cards and through contact with spirit, because I'm a clairvoyant as well. So it's almost like a TikTok duet. So there's me and whoever's come through from spirit. Sometimes there's loads who I'm pointing because it's like they stand behind me. And I'm able to move that person forward and coach that person in a different way. Because often when people are having a spiritual awakening, it's not always, sometimes it can be quite rough, as many of us know. So I'm able to do that and really help to move people forward in a very positive, unique way. And it's a privilege. It's a privilege for me to be able to have those conversations and see those changes in people.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many points I kind of want to touch on there, because firstly, the fact that you were in like corporates and training other people for 20-ish years, or kind of at least in that world for so long, and then you moved into this. I mean, have you found that the skills you picked up in training and working with people probably every day and month on month, do you find that carried over quite nicely into the work you're doing now in regards to skill-wise?
100%. And it's sort of, for me, it feels like my career and my journey has been very purposeful without me even reasoning it. It's almost like, you know, being guided, because I also design and teach courses both face-to-face and online. So I'm able to build those courses quite easily. I'm able to write training material. I'm able to, you know, design social media content and that sort of thing quite easily. I'm used to being able to speak to people, whether that's one-to-one or in groups. And from the coaching side of my career, really being able to talk to people, so not just giving them some information that they can't really use, might be interesting, but they can't really use, and being able to turn that around. So that career that I've had, that I've, you know, was a fantastic career, really has been a foundation to what I'm doing now. And when I specialised in leadership development. And when I designed a course, I always had a spiritual element. I always sort of put that element in there because it's so important for people. And so often I saw people in the corporate world transforming because they were expanding spiritually. So being able to really focus on that element in, you know, which was my favorite element, and being able to bring that forward is just fantastic. So all those aspects. I mean, before I was a lecturer, before I was in the corporate world, I was a lecturer in an art college. So like the graphic design from a social media,
you've covered all the bases.
Absolutely. And it's been sort of put there in front of me, and I feel very much that it's all happened for a reason.
Yeah, no, that's incredible, because obviously the people who are watching this, and maybe they've just started a journey as someone working online in the holistic and spiritual space, or they're thinking about it because they're in a corporate job or just a complete unrelated job. I think there's some great points in there already that, first, it's never too late. Like, even if you have that identity of, I am this for the last 15 years, who's to say you can't just, something happens or you just feel it and you're like, I need to take the dive into something else. And yours came obviously with not even by your own choice, it just happened. And you're like, wow, I have all these other interests, I still have these skills. And you found they carried over so nicely into what you're doing now. And it's so much more, seems aligned with your passions and where you want to be focused now.
Completely. I mean, I first went into a spiritualist church when I was 19 to start my spiritual development as a medium. And I remember thinking, you know, being told, yes, you're going to be a medium. And me thinking that's all well and good, but I'm 19 and I'm in a church and it smells funny. It's all old people. So I said, you know what, I'll come back when I'm 50. And I'm 50 this year, and I've made that change at the age that I'm at now. You know, in the meantime, I've been off and trained formally as a medium and worked and trained within the spiritualist movement and so on and so forth. But I always sort of came back into and always saw it as something that I would do as, I won't say a hobby because that sort of diminishes it, but something that would be separate. And I never thought I'd have the option to do this professionally or for a living. But I remember when I said, when I was 19, I'll come back to this when I was 50, sort of being told, okay, you do that and we'll support you, sort of thing. So it's almost like all those years ago, I made a pact with Spirit that I'd be back now. And it's like they've put those wheels in motion. Because if I hadn't have been made redundant, our entire department, you know, went, I would never have been able to make this jump. So it really does feel like wheels were put in motion for me. And like so many people, and so many people in my circle now, I've actually moved forward and thought, what actually is my passion? What is my mission? What am I supposed to be doing? And I've taken steps and I've been able to move forward in that. And it's a privilege. I mean, I use that word 10 times a day because I feel that all day. I don't feel that what I do is work. I feel that I get to do my favorite things for a living, you know, and that is just fantastic. And that to me absolutely says to me that I'm on my soul mission, you know, when somebody's able to use their own talents and the things that they really love and do that, especially to support other people, which is my main thing. You know, I help open-minded, curious people. When you have that option, when you have that opportunity, it's supposed to be, you know.
Yeah, I mean that very very brief thing you said about like, oh, I don't want to diminish it. Diminish
Yeah,
it, like small, kind of like, oh, it's just gonna be a hobby.
yeah,
That's potentially a thought a lot of people who have these passions, like you said, you
definitely.
started with this so young, and then only now it kind of grew into the thing. But you're like, it's kind of maybe not. Oh, I can't do this as my full time thing, or
Yeah,
this can't be my thing. But I think this is why I really enjoy doing these calls with people, is that it can be. There's
yeah,
you, and you
absolutely.
say it took off so quickly, and all these other people, relationship coaches, and also medium psychics, like people are doing this as their full-time business, and they're helping people, and it's much more aligned, and you don't have to necessarily diminish it. Like it can be a
That's
full thing.
that's right. And I think so many people that I've spoken to that want to go into a spiritual business or run a business in a spiritual way often think either it's not required, people aren't interested. They absolutely are. And also, people have this sort of ingrained feeling that if you work in a spiritual industry, you can't actually make an income. That if you have a gift, you should give that for free. However, if I wasn't charging for my services, I wouldn't be able to offer my services and really help people. And I hear back over and over again how much I've helped people. And something that I heard not long ago that really resonated with me is that, from generations ago, holy people weren't allowed to handle money. So it was seen as an absolute no-go. And that has sort of been templated all the way down the generations that spiritual people shouldn't earn or have any money. And that's not true at all. Because something that we often know is that when people get to work in a spiritual industry, the money that they earn, they often spend very well. And they often spend putting it back to help people. So I think the universe, let's say, definitely wants people in spiritual industries that can help so many because we spend our money well. When I think what I'm able to do because of the income that I've got, I'm able to concentrate on the people that I'm with rather than worry about finances. So,
Yes.
who's watching this thinking, oh, is it right for me to charge for some sort of spiritual service? Yes, it is, because that
Yeah.
means you're able to do it.
Yeah, I mean that's it's crazy to see the same mindset over and over between, just it comes up so many times with relationship coaches, spiritual coaches, yourself, those in clairvoyance and things like that. It's like there's that little bit of guilt sometimes and shame of like, how can I charge for this? But if you don't
Yeah,
charge and you're charging everyone the absolute minimum, if at all,
yeah.
you're going to be burnt out. You can't give people your best service. They're not
And
going
I
to
can't
really get the
guarantee
main
it.
benefit. It's almost like
Yeah,
charging people. It's like doing them a disservice by not charging them, because
yeah,
you know you're not going to be able to serve them properly.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's sort of, it's the same because as well as the readings I mentioned before that I also teach. So next week, actually, I'm due to start both a face-to-face spiritual development course locally and an online course simultaneously. So I do them, one night after the other, where there's sort of a teaching element. And then a few days later, there's a live coaching call.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, it was quite strange for me trying to work out a price point for those courses that
Yeah.
originally the money that I was going to charge was literally, pin money. And a friend of mine was like, what you're doing, this is actually your living, and think about what you're offering to people. And I felt really quite strange putting, still a very low price on those courses, because I thought, why would people want to spend that amount of money? And both courses sold out very quickly and people paid in full
Incredible.
straight away. And, when I think about when I've recently done some quite big coaching and training programs that I paid for, I paid the money without, thinking, because I thought about what it would do for me. And that's something that we're sort of starting to shift around coaching, as you say, relationship coaching, all that sort of thing, that rather than thinking, okay, it's X amount of money for X amount of time with this person, it's not that. It's X amount of money for this benefit and for this massive shift in your life and this change in your life. So in actual fact, people very much recognize that, and they see the benefit of what they're doing, and they sort of very much see the value in that cost. So that is something I've learned from my customers that people are like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. You know, and it's brilliant that people are seeing the value of coaching and a service in coaching to actually move people's lives forward.
Yeah, I know you mentioned your courses are already sold out, but we must definitely include links in the description if people want to check that out and see kind of what that entails. I think that'll be amazing for people to see. So you mentioned something earlier. You said that, well, because you've always been involved with spirituality. You said even from 19 you had been working on your spiritual development, and then when your previous job ended and everything, you had that one friend come to you. Had people already been coming to you in certain ways, like asking you questions, and had you kind of been known as that person already a little bit?
Yes and no. I would say there were times in my life that it was very much a part of my life, and times that it wasn't at all. And I think people that go through a spiritual development will very much relate to that this is something that comes and goes throughout your life. And it comes up when it's supposed to, it would move forward, and then I would move on to a different part of my life. So, you know, some close people have always known that is an element of my life that I've focused on. Some people had no idea. So when I started my business, it probably would have been a bit of a shock to some people that I was doing that. But a spiritual development isn't a steady line. It's often yes, you know. And, you know, there's times that I wasn't involved at all, and was focusing on developing a different part of me or dealing with a different part of my life. But yeah, what I find myself in now is that my social circle has changed, obviously, because you often socialize with colleagues and so on. So some people have moved out of my life, and a lot more spiritual people. You know, the woo-woo crowd. I think sometimes some of the crazy things that happen to me, I often think, how would I tell people about this? And then I realize that there's no one in my life that I couldn't tell about a really strange thing happening and go, right, okay, yeah, that's really completely normal. Because I also, I work in a fantastic shop quite local to me, which is like a spiritual, and they sell spiritual gifts, witchcraft, supplies, and so on. And I work there 1 day a week doing face-to-face readings. So I get to be in this shop with the amazing people that run it and the customers that come in, and we have the craziest conversations. And I always think, I've made it. You know, I'm in a life where we can completely sensibly talk about things that some people would find very strange, and I can feel completely, to use a buzzword, authentically me. I don't have to edit that part of me, and I can very much talk about that element. So yes, I can completely show that part of me all the time now. And luckily my partner is as woo-woo as I am. So he doesn't think, you know, he's very, very supportive of everything that I'm doing as well. So
no, amazing. No, it's really interesting that you mentioned you weren't necessarily known as that person, because someone I recently spoke to, she's a relationship coach, and she said even when she was working in her previous career and corporate life, she already had people like coming to her and saying like, hey, we feel like she was kind of known as that person who's very good when it came to those things. So when you made that transition, you said you had that one friend who came to you, but how did you kind of pick up steam with those first few clients? And were there some things you did, like in regards to outreach? Can you talk about that a little bit?
yeah, I mean, whereas this wasn't a huge part of my life to everybody, there were still quite a lot of people in my life that knew me as a spiritual person, that I did in the same way as the relationship coach, that people would often talk to me about that sort of thing. So when I started, you know, I had quite a wide group of friends and a lot of people on social media and that sort of thing. So as soon as I said, hi, this is what I'm doing, bang, you know, people came forward straight away. So I had a lot of past colleagues that came to me, a lot of friends and so on. So I would say at one point when I first started, it was probably 80% people that I either knew or acquaintances, let's say.
Yeah.
And over time, that has built more and more and more on word of mouth, because I'm often quite curious when somebody contacts me for a reading, how they've come by me. And sometimes they'll say, right, so such and such had a reading and she's friends with blah, blah, and said you were fantastic and this sort of thing. And very often as well, people will just say, I was drawn to you. You know, either I saw you on Facebook or I saw you doing a live, because I often work live on Facebook or Instagram doing readings for people. And, you know, sometimes I'll get up to like 80 people on those lives. And afterwards, people will come to me and say, I'm really drawn to you for whatever reason, you know, and people tend to find me however they find me. And it amazes me when they do, you know. And I've read for people internationally, including South Africa, where you're from, obviously, and, you know, people from America and so on that just come along and find me for whatever reason, and often at the right time. You know, sometimes people will come along and say, I'm really struggling today, I really need something today. And they'll message me and I'll say, I've got a cancellation. It all happens. Like, it's amazing. And I think, yeah, that's completely normal. That happens all the time, but it's just, I almost feel like I've got a calendar that spirit look after, rather than me to say, do certain things at certain times, you know.
We're going to film this day. Okay, we'll swap those two people out. They can come next week.
Yeah, and I think, oh no, that's fallen through. What's that? Good, bing! I need to see some today. Yes, that's work.
Yeah, no. So I mean, that was, I think, a really valuable point for people who are potentially wanting to take the dive into this. Is like, let people know what you're doing. It's like you already had some cred. You had circles that they did know you, but then you put it out there, like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. Like, who's interested? Was it kind of that? It was like, I offer these. This is what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a case of, because social media, I'd been on Facebook for years, but nothing else. Hadn't been on Instagram or anything like that. I wasn't particularly interested. And when I started, basically I just went out as me. I'm no different, you know, I'm doing very well today. Usually I swear like a docker. And I'm very me, I'm very down to earth, and people are drawn to me like that. So I'm no different in my business. You know, I'm not going to be any different. And that is one of the things that people like. So when I go out to social media, I've been honest and sort of said, this is where I'm up to. You know, I'd often do a video to say, this is what's happening this week, or you'll never guess what's happened, or I'm looking to, you know, I'm starting a course, who's interested. And it's like just yesterday when I was saying, I'm only a few short of, you know, I wanted to get 600 followers on Instagram, because I've only had my Instagram account for about 2 months, maybe 3 months. And I wanted to sort of get to that little goal. And I just put a shout out yesterday. Would people help me? You know, would you share my post or something like that? And they did. And I've passed 600 now. And it never amazes me that times that I've asked for help on social media, either I'm trying to do this, or is anybody interested in that? People will speak to you. And I've found that I've built up a steady following, because at first, as we so often are, I thought I need loads and loads of followers on Facebook and Instagram. Then realized I didn't. I need loyal followers that are interested in what I'm actually offering. It's not about the number, it's about the quality. So when I go live on Instagram or Facebook, I know there's some people that will always come and watch. And these are often people who've had readings from me. So there are people that have sort of followed me all the way through. Maybe they've seen me on Facebook somewhere along the way. Then they've watched me live. And then they've had a personal reading. And then they've booked on my course. So there are people that have gone all the way through. I know, and I'm so proud of that, because it shows that these are people that can see me, that can see who I am, how I am, and what I offer, and are interested in that. And that has shown me that I can be absolutely me. I don't have to be anyone else. I don't have to try and do something that isn't me. And people will be drawn to my meanness. People will be drawn to Ripley. And they will come for that. You know, I don't have to try and emulate someone else or work differently, or, you know, I can be me, and there are enough people that will be interested in me and my service to earn a living, you know, and that's a fantastic thing. It's a fantastic thing. I remember at one point trying to sort out the spare room upstairs so that I'd have a nice swish backdrop for when I was doing videos and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out at all. Funny that, isn't it? It didn't work out at all. And I remember sitting on my stairs and doing a little live video going, I'm having a nightmare. I can't get this sorted out. I don't know how to do it. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'm best off not having some sort of swish backdrop. What do you think? Loads of people came back and went, no, don't do that. We like seeing your house in the background.
Yeah.
You know, my background, I've got various locations around the house that are my house, and that's where I shoot videos from, you know, because this is where I live, and it's a bit quirky, you know, and that's me. That's what I offer. I am quirky. So rather than thinking I need to look really swish and professional with a backdrop, no, I need to have my house in the background, and that usually involves, in that corner, there's usually a little pile of laundry sitting in that corner, you know. But that's me. That's me, you know.
It's the absolute authenticity. It's like you just putting out
absolutely.
your journey, how you feel, especially in like Facebook, when you get into like the digital marketing world of Facebook, it's like very tailored posts. It's a very specific image people are putting across, and you can, if you've known even a little bit about digital marketing, you can tell it's like authentic but not authentic. It's like it's fake authentic kind of thing. So it's like if you put out those proper things, like it makes people feel connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really have learned that. I've learned loads of stuff because obviously I've looked at how to get followers and how to make digital content, and taken from that some lessons, but it's still me. So, you know, if we go out for the day, I'll often take a few shots so I can say, this is what we do at the weekend. So it's not all about, this is what I'm doing for work. I also show, this is what I do at the weekend. This is what I'm interested in. This is the area that I live in. This is what I like doing. As well as, you know, I'll also, when I do a little reading for myself, when I do card reading for myself, I'll often take a picture of the cards and talk a little bit about it. I'll also pull cards and say to people, choose card 1, 2, or 3. That's really popular. People love that. And then they come back later on and there's a video of me talking about, this is what 1, 2, or 3 means. So it's a real mixture of content because I want people to have a reason to come back.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely authentic. So I want to be able to give to people, because that is also showcasing who I am, because the way I talk about the cards is the way I talk about the cards. It's the way I am as a person.
Yeah.
And what I offer is, it's like having a free sample.
Yeah.
So if you go on to that and think, I like the way that, you know, that she's talked about that, then you know what will happen. You know the style when I'm actually doing, you know, a reading for someone.
Yeah, it's like the moment they jump on for their first time, they might have been following you for a little while already, and they feel like they know you, like they know how you talk, they know the way you pace, like the way you speak and how you think about things. Like they feel like they already know you. So it creates that sense of like really great comfort.
It's not a gamble.
Yeah.
It's not a gamble, because so often I've heard people over the years that have gone to see a clairvoyant or a medium or something like that, and they've got there and like, you know, I don't like the way they did this, or I didn't get this, or it wasn't for me. Because I'm able to showcase who I am as a person, people are confident when they come along that they know what they're going to get. And I think that is something that social media gives us. It gives us the opportunity, regardless of what kind of coach you are or what sort of industry you're in, to be able to put yourself out there a little bit and show, this is who I am, this is the way I speak, this is sort of the things that I'm interested in, so that people can come to you and think, I have got something in common with that person. We have already got common ground. So it's going to work. It's not just I'm going to knock on the door and see what I get.
Yeah.
People know exactly who they're going to get. So it sort of takes away that that sort of, oh, will it work or won't it? And it also gives people the opportunity to watch me and think, she's not for me. That's not the sort of reading I want. As well as people thinking that is the sort of reading I want, because I wouldn't want to work with somebody that we don't gel with, you know, because that's not, it doesn't work for either of us. So having social media and having that opportunity is fantastic, because it's being able to show people this is who I am and what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a brilliant part, kind of brilliant point for us to kind of start wrapping up on, is that just that overarching kind of that's been throughout this conversation is just authenticity. It's like, let people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Show kind of who you are. Just like put things out that you're doing. Build that. That's how people build the relationship. You get to know how you think. It's that pure authenticity. And like you said, people resonate with that or they don't. And that's fine, because then the people who come to you, they feel like they already know you, and it's just so much smoother. They're going to send referrals because they feel so good about it, and just grows and grows and grows. Like just put your day out there, like just put, especially in the spiritual spaces, like show consistently how you think about the world, how you speak about it, your experiences, and that definitely separates it just from everyone else potentially doing some of the same work. It's you're that separator. Absolutely.
It is. And it's like, so for example, with spiritual coaches, there's so many spiritual coaches out there that you could go to that will potentially get you to where you need to go. But there's so many different routes, and there's so many different ways to do that. There's so many different ways to connect, that there is enough room for all of us to do that. There is enough room. Spiritual coaching and coaching itself, as we know, has only been around for a very short amount of time. And I've heard people say that the industry is flooded. It isn't. Because, you know, somebody that's going into coaching with that authenticity and that their own style, they're the only one. You know, they're the only one. So it's like, put yourself out there and learn who you are, and actually really be that, really own that part of yourself. You put that out there and people will be attracted to that, rather than trying to be all things to all people, or be a very glossed over version of you. Don't be you, and people will be drawn to that element of you, for sure.
So on that note, if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect, to see your clairvoyance readings on your Facebook, and maybe learn a bit more about your course and your teachings? What's the best way?
So my business name is 𝗦𝗫𝗁 Quartz Readings, and that's 𝗦𝗫𝗁, 𝗦𝗫𝗁, which is slightly different than a crystal, which is one of these. I'm a big fan of the crystals, and 𝗦𝗫𝗁 Quartz turns negative energy into positive energy. That's me. So my website is 𝗦𝗫𝗁 Quartz Readings, and my Instagram and Facebook. I'm just due to start TikTok. I'm really excited about that. But anybody that searches for 𝗦𝗫𝗁 Quartz Readings is going to find me.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll also drop all the links in the bottom of the description. But yeah, I'm really thankful and glad that we had to sit down. I think people can, especially if they wanted to take this step into the journey, I think they can take away a lot of good points that you've had from your experience. So I really want to thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out to me. It's one of those things that you ask the universe to send you good things, and then sort of, it was very soon after I was saying, I really need a different bit of exposure, that suddenly an email out of the blue came from you. And you're like, thank you very much, universe, you know, and that's the way it goes. You ask, you send out the good vibes, and along it comes.
Amazing. Yeah. Definitely going to keep in touch. And thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Automator series as much as I enjoyed having it. And there are two things I want you to do now. I want you firstly to follow me on YouTube, get that subscription in, because you're going to see all the new episodes popping up in that case, and you can stay on top of the series. And the second thing is, I want you to reach out to me. If anything we discussed on the episode today resonated with you in regards to potentially taking a jump into an online spiritual coaching business, or you really have a business and you're wanting to grow that out, and you're feeling like you could be impacting a lot more lives, but you don't quite have the time right now, you don't quite have the freedom you wanted, and you don't quite have those systems in place, I want you to reach out to me. It's a no pressure, no strings attached send me a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, email, whatever you prefer, and we can just have a conversation and a bit of a back and forth in regards to where you're at, what you're looking for, and how I might be able to help you impact more lives with what you're doing.